in essence, what happened was that, at least happened to me, is that I was studying philosophy. I was from a sort of, I was from officially a Christian background, although my family were not serious about it at all, just very nominal at best. But I was educated at an Anglican school, and we had Bible classes a few times a week for like 12 years. So, I was fairly well informed, you could say. And then Prabhupada came and Prabhupada spoke. And I could understand that he's talking about God. It's the same subject, you could say, that I've been hearing about for so many years. But Prabhupada was talking in very philosophical terms, not just believe this, have faith in that, and those types of ideas, but it was very logical. And that really struck me, because that was my specialty, was philosophy and trying to understand things in such ways that it all makes sense. So that really struck me, that Prabhupada was making sense. And so it went very deep into my heart. And I was, just from that time, I was really, it really changed my way of thinking in very profound ways. It was remarkable, actually. And so that was April 1972. Then eventually I ended up in London, and on January the 7th, actually, the anniversary will be in 3 days. I moved into our temple in London as a guest, and here I am. I'm still here as a guest. Yes. So those some thoughts about Srila Prabhupada from me. Yeah.
We still have a few minutes.
That's okay. No, let's just carry on.
His Grace Ramanujacharya Prabhu ki. Ramanujacharya Prabhu joined ISKCON in 1969, and he came here in 1974 prior to Prabhupada arriving in 75, and he was part of that team that looked after Prabhupada while he was here. Ramanujacharya Prabhu cooked for Srila Prabhupada. And now he's a very respected resident here at our temple, a musician, a philosopher. He gives classes. He was part of Bhaktivedanta College of Education and Culture, as well as he's written a few books for the temple. Particularly prominent is the Handbook of Vaishnava Practices. Most of us are using that. So I'll hand over to Ramanujacharya Prabhu. You have 7 or 8 minutes to give an opening statement about Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll pass it to the next speaker, and thereafter, and until we finish all the speakers.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Garbhani Vicharane Nivishesha Nivadi Plastika Vishikara. I offer my respectful obeisance to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O servant of Saraswati, for you so kindly taught the message of Lord Chaitanya in the Western world, which is full of impersonalism and voidism. That last prayer, Prabhupada wrote about himself. And there was a disciple of Prabhupada from India named Srila, and he asked, but what about the rest of the world? Your pranam mantra says you delivered the Western country. And Prabhupada said, that is my contribution to the disciplic succession. So, I was raised as a Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic schools, studied Latin, and but somehow it didn't catch. But I was looking for God. And I was praying, I want to know who you are, God, whoever you are. That's there's a prayer of the atheist. You know the prayer of the agnostic. Oh God, if there is one, please save my soul, if I have one. So that's the prayer of the agnostic. Agnostic is different from an atheist. Atheist says there is no God. Agnostic says, I don't know if there is a God or not, which is a little bit more honest. So at that time we had the counterculture, popularly known as the hippie movement. And at the same time, the Vietnam War was going on. And they wanted to induct the young men to go and fight in Vietnam to defend America. I mean, most of us had never heard of Vietnam. And so I didn't really have much trust in my parents or the Catholic Church or the American government. And I was studying it. I had a copy of the New Testament, which I was reading. I was reading books on Buddhism. I went to the Zen Center. And I saw a Buddhist, a monk in San Francisco. I went to San Francisco because that's where it was all happening. And I saw a Buddhist monk and I said, are you a Buddhist monk? He said, yes. I said, I'm reading books by Alan Watts. He said, don't read Alan Watts, read D.T. Suzuki. So anyway, I even went to the Zen Center. I was searching for God. But none of these yogis that I came across in San Francisco really affected me. But then I saw the devotees having kirtan. See, I have a little bit of a background in music. I was in the church choir. And in high school, I was in the glee club. My friends and I, we used to sing in this coffee house on the weekends called The Exit. Yeah, good idea. We want to exit the material world. So we were singers, and we sang, played guitar, played harmonica. And then saw the devotees having kirtan. And I found the temple on Frederick Street, which was a storefront. You don't have so many around. It used to be, you'd have like a store and the big front window, glass window. The storekeeper would put his wares in the front, And then and usually they would have an apartment above it, and they would live there. So it was a storefront, and Prabhupada was preaching there. And but he wasn't there when I first went. And then I learned that there was an LP, which means long playing record, 33 1/3 rotations per minute, RPM. So they were selling them at the temple, but there was a store that sold records down the street called the Rock Shop. And their price was cheaper, so I bought it there. And somehow it got into my mind that for spiritual life I should be a vegetarian, but I didn't know how to do it. So I started coming every day, and actually before that I was a bicycle messenger in San Francisco. Couldn't do it now. 2. Anyway, I saw Prabhupada. He came. Prabhupada came for Rath Yatra in Golden Gate Park. And I bought the Hare Krishna record, which I still listen to now. Same one that was recorded in New York. Then I saw Prabhupada speak at the Family Dome Auditorium that was part of the Rath Yatra. And he said, I can understand that many young people in this country are frustrated. He said, you should be frustrated. This material world is a frustrating place. And my mother said the same thing, that this life is full of disappointments. So Prabhupada asked us, he was quoting Narottam Das Thakur, asking us to chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. And finally I started coming to the temple, and I joined. And Jayananda shaved my head, with a clipper. And I was proud of my long blonde hair. It was down to my shoulders. I was really attached to it and had to give it up. And I said, can we keep it? He said, yeah, we can wait till we're having we've been doing a play and we can use it for the demons outfit. Anyway, through different ISKCON authorities, I went to India, Kenya, South Africa, back to America, the UK. But I always liked Durban, South Africa. And so here I am. I'm a South African citizen. So I think I have to end. Otherwise I'll get in trouble.
Thank you very much, Charya Prabhu. There will be opportunities to respond again because the audience is going to ask questions, and then we'll feel to the panel, so everybody. We'll now ask Shri Prabhu to address us.
All right, Hare Krishna. So boy, Ramacharya, aka Goldilocks, came in the 60s, and I didn't come till the 70s. Of course, it was January 5th, 1970. So it's just short of 56 years. But I had to start early because the rest of you were like more advanced. Like when they have the boat race, the slow boats go out first because otherwise they'll be way behind. So Prabhupada plants the seeds for us. I went to see a bunch of bands playing at the Orange County Fairgrounds. And this was a couple of years ago. From 19 1967. I guess it was more than a couple of years ago. But at the end, the people there was different food booths there. And the Mystic Arts people had the vegetarian food booth. And they got together and there was a one big guy, his name was Tiny. I said, what's this song you're singing? He said, well, there's a Swami named Prabhupada on Pico Boulevard. First temple I went to was La Cienega, early 70s. Pico was like 67, 68. And they said, he taught us this mantra, you want to sing it with us? And of course it was Hare Krishna mantra. And so this was Prabhupada coming to me through people who weren't even exactly devotees, but they'd heard the chanting from the lips of a pure devotee. Prabhupada actually said that the earth has chakras, and one of them is on Laguna Beach. At that time at Laguna Beach, 1/3 of the high school was vegetarian. And so Prabhupada sent people to Laguna to open the temple because I remember as I first saw devotees, there was Jamal Krishna and a few others. Those Buddhists over there? I said, no, those are the Hare Krishna devotees. But I didn't get a chance to see them in Laguna. But the devotees of Laguna would tell my friends that for real spiritual life, you have to give up illicit sex and intoxication. So they said, we'll do that someday, but not yet. And sometimes for people, the seed needs to be planted. Not everybody's ready to do it yet, but if they hold the ideal on their head and try to work towards that, at least that's some sort of progress. And so I used to go to my special meditation rock. I found a book in the Mystic Arts book called Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and it said bhakti means that I just ask some way to develop love of God. So I would go to my rock and pray, and on January 5th, 1970, I got this strong inspiration that if I really want that, I have to give up illicit sex and intoxication. I thought, well, it's January. What I'll do is date a few more girls from the high school, and I'll give it up in June when high school's out. Sounds like a good idea, right? Isn't it? We don't have to be so conservative, right? Then I thought, wait a minute, if it's a good idea, I should do it. And if it's not a good idea, why would I do it at all? So I felt like this, God was giving me some kind of inspiration. And I'll tell you why in a second. I said, all right, God, this is kind of a tall order, but I'll give up these things. And you sent me some way to develop love for you. And I thought, how long will it take me? A week, a month, a year? I opened my eyes, and as far away as Prabhupada is over there was a devotee in saffron walking towards me. Didn't take me any week, month, or year, did it? So I said, Hare Krishna, that's what I'm supposed to do? And he came up and I said, what are you doing down here at the beach? He said, well, I was up on the cliff. These beaches had cliffs where you walk down about maybe 30, 40 stairs to get to the beach, and we were having our chanting kirtan up there. And all of a sudden I had this uncontrollable compulsion to come down to the beach. I was like, this is why Krishna was pushing me, because the opportunity was right there, right? It's like the people that come see Prabhupada, he's speaking at Lakshmi Narayan, and then they missed it, and you missed it, right? So Krishna's pushing me, look, the opportunity's here. I got these devotees one beach away. You do it now, I'll send it. So he sent it down, and he said, would you like to come chat with us? I said, I think that's exactly what I'm supposed to do. So I started going to the temple, and very quickly after that, Prabhupada came back to LA, and we would stay at the temple Saturday night and help the devotees make a feast and go to Los Angeles. When I first saw Prabhupada, he was effulgent. We would chant outside the La Cienega, and the car would pull up, and Prabhupada would get out, and he would walk through the crowd, and he would lead the chanting, then he would give the class, and he would lead the chanting for Artik. So the second time I was there, everyone lined up for Prabhupada to touch them on the head as he was leaving. And there was no room for me. So I knelt down in the gutter by the car. And so the door opened here, Prabhupada passed me. And then when it shut, he looked at me and said, "Oh, Hare Krishna." And he got back out of the car and he touched me on the head. And so I immediately felt like I'd been released of all kinds of past karma. And this is what comes in contact with Prabhupada, because as he said in the talk, he passes this knowledge intact. You have to pass the formula as it is. If the recipe for a cake says 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, cook at 200 degrees for 1 hour. If you say, well, I'll add 2 of sugar and only 1 of flour and cook for 4 hours, you get the same? No. You have to follow what comes in the disciplic succession. If we drop the fruit or add something to it or take something out, then something is missing. And Prabhupada had the pure love, and he had the caring for us, and he passed the knowledge as it is. So what behooves us is to follow these instructions, chant clearly, asking for Krishna's mercy. Most of you are just naturally Krishna conscious. You don't have to beg for Krishna's mercy, but I find I have to wake up real early and slap my mind around and beg for Krishna's mercy. And that works for me, so it'll probably work for others too. And it's only because I learned that this works by coming in contact with Prabhupada and watching the things that he would do. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Shri Prabhu. We now have the pleasure to listen to His Holiness Ram Govinda Swami Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Yajnanmelitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Shunnyavadi Pachatadevtarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Fortunately heard about Prabhupada's work, how they met and how they interacted with Prabhupada. I never met Prabhupada. 1970 and 71 I used to see Western devotees in Calcutta, Dharamtala, which is known as the explanation of Kirta. But we were unable to, we can't meet with the foreigners in those days. One time almost approaching the water, so they are prohibited to talk and approach. After coming to the ISKCON contact, 1991, the devotees in Botswana at that time. 86 I went for a short ride in Washington, the devotees from ISKCON. That time I didn't know anything about the ABC of ISKCON. When we heard the word ISKCON and Hare Krishna, the cinema, that time the cinema, Hare Krishna mantra was there. So, after returning to Botswana, then I happened to come to contact with the devotees who came to London to start business and establish Krishna Consciousness Society also there. First, when I read the book, Sense of Self-Realization, that made me one by one to have a guru in the life. Before that we used to read Bhagavad, so many things, but we never had the good requirement. But Sense of Self-Realization, Prabhupada wonderfully explains why a guru is required. and what is the purpose of human form of the life also Srila Prabhupada said. Then after that, when we read it, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita also, but we read all Bhagavad Gita. In the introduction, Srila Prabhupada writes very wonderfully. The purpose of human form of the life, what we should do. While explaining the devotional service of the Lord is the most important aspect of the human form of the life, he quotes from the Gita Upanishad also says, Ego Shastram He Devaki Putra Gita. Devaki Putra means Sri Krishna. His Gita is song in Bhagavad Gita. In the introduction, Srila Prabhupada also writes that Bhagavad Gita must be read in the spirit of understanding that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you don't have that understanding, then reading Bhagavad Gita we can't get anything. So whatever the words spoken by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, one should take it as a word spoken by Supreme Lord. And they are Vedas. What is the Veda? Veda is nothing but words spoken by the Supreme Lord in the Veda. And because Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, and as such Mahabharata also comes under category of the Veda, which is called the fifth Veda. You got the fourth Veda, but Mahabharata also taken as fifth Veda because Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata. So when we read the introduction, in the beginning, the devotees told that we should read Bhagavad Gita introduction, try to understand each and every sentence there. And Prabhupada stresses on the devotional service. Prabhupada always stresses that one should remember the life is meant for achieving perfection. And perfection is engaging in the loving devotional service. Before that, I used to read the Ramakrishna Mission book also when I was 1969, 70. Nobody talks about what is the bhakti. Everybody says bhakti, bhakti, but nobody says what is the bhakti. But Prabhupada verse, the Prabhupada gives the what is bhakti. No one ever given the clear definition of the bhakti. Sarvopal Vedabhuttam Tattvaratve Nirmalam Rishikena Sistavanam. The Prabhupada writings, every word is understood very clearly. There is no doubt in what he writes. If you understand Prabhupada writings, there is no doubt. That a great Acharyas can also write it who got the realization. You can see before Srila Prabhupada, there are so many Acharyas went to West also, even America, Swami Vivekananda went. But they all preached the impersonalism. Nobody taught the personal aspect of the Lord. But Srila Prabhupada went and taught the personal aspect of the Lord. That's why in every word, first where they write the Supreme Lord says, Supreme Personality of God. It says that Lord has got the body form. Satchidananda Vigraha. It stresses on the Vigraha. That person gives a lot of impression for the newcomers. The Lord is a born human form like you and me. Once we are doing the work, put for life in one Sabbath area in Bursana. We are not talking about the God as a form. One of the pastors in the church was also there. He was saying, yes, my friend, the Bible also said God made the human being on his holy base. We also accept the God, Lord as a form. And Prabhupada made it very clearly, Lord is not a person, is a human body like you and me. The Lord's body in the 400 form not attracted to anyone, but the 200 form of the Lord is very, very attractive. That's why Prabhupada said Shama Sundara. So the writings of Prabhupada in the purports of the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and CC also there. They're very interesting. Anyone reads, Srila Prabhupada says that anyone reads my books, their life will change. What your lecture is going to change, the 1 half an hour you talk and go. After that he will forget. But if you give one book to them, if they read one page, his life will change. That's the truth. Any page, anywhere in the Bhagavata, Bhagavad Gita, any purport you read it, the purport makes us to think the person. Prabhupada says the purpose and the goal of human form of life is engaging in the loving devotional service of the Lord. And going back to Godhead, from where we all have come. The specialities Prabhupada writings that in all other literature, other than his forms, the Prabhupada writings, they write bhakti as a devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada stresses loving devotional service. And what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the incarnation is for, to teach how one should serve the Lord with the love it is. And Srila Prabhupada speaks to that point that devotional service, serving the Lord with the love, not as a duty. It is a speciality of Srila Prabhupada writing that, the loving devotion. How to love Krishna with the love in his purpose, elaborate lessons. And when we serve the Lord with love, the loving devotional service, then nothing for human being which you cannot attain it. The 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, Prahlad Maharaj said that, Tushti tatatra kimala bhyamanantamadhi kintre gunya vetikara adi swasiddha. Prahlad Maharaj said that by serving the Lord, when the Lord is satisfied with our loving devotional service, then nothing a devotee cannot get. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Following the religious principles and economic development. These all are just material. When the devotee engages in loving devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj said that we will get everything what we want, what is good for us, Lord will give us. And the purpose of Prabhupada mentioned very clearly that there is nothing which a devotee cannot get. If you want to go to heaven, Lord says, oh, I want to give something higher, but you want to go to heaven, go. But you want to go back to spiritual world to serve the Lord. The beauty of the devotional service is explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada wonderfully explained to us that we are serving the Lord not for our happiness. We are serving the Lord for His happiness. So this was specific way of writing that serving the Lord for His happiness. No other acharyas will find other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is scientific purpose. So Prabhupada looks when we read it, we get inspired to take up to the devotional service Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. We're really sorry that something as important as this would have taken about 2 hours, maybe. We can arrange it again if we are fortunate to have all of it together. So this is a question. Before I ask the ones that have been WhatsApp to me, who would like to ask a question now directly? I'll hand you the mic. Okay, Shyam. Shyam is a national devotee.
Just thank you so much for the mercy. I just have a question on behalf of the youth. For us youth who haven't quite met Srila Prabhupada physically, how can we develop that loving relationship with him?
Yes, that's a very important question, but there's also a very simple answer. Prabhupada is present in his instructions, which are particularly there in his books, but also the recordings of his classes and so on. And so that's the main thing. But then also, if you associate with those who are following Prabhupada nicely and who understand Prabhupada, they can give you Prabhupada. And we see it happens to so many people who have not met Prabhupada. They get his books, they meet devotees, and they really develop personal relationships with Krishna, with Prabhupada like that.
Would you like to add to that, Ramanujacha?
Yes, Srila Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my books. And Prabhupada would stay up late in the middle of the night translating his books. So the books are very important. He wanted us to distribute the books and also study the books.
Thank you. Shri Prabhu, have a comment?
Well, obviously the same things. I remember when I would do the Mangal Artik in Mumbai in 71, I'd hear Prabhupada translating in the next room. So I had some access to it. But actually you have more access because you can pick the book up and read it. And they have the devices that Bhakti Brihad Swami is very big on with all the Prabhupada lectures, and the book tells you which lecture on which verse, and you can hear Prabhupada's voice talking about particular subject matters. So obviously the lectures and the books are the way we stay in touch with Prabhupada. You know, most of us didn't follow Prabhupada at every moment of every day. We did in our actions, but not physically. Prabhupada spent his time translating books, and he had secretaries he was dealing with. So it isn't as if you see Prabhupada here in the video giving the class, which is kind of amazing because the video camera was not common back then. I think they had to dub in the words later, because only the movie people had video cameras in that time. So by watching that, you're in touch with Prabhupada, and by studying the books, and by putting some of it into practice. Just like if you read a book from someone how to play a guitar, and then you do it, you see, oh, it works, I learned how to do it from this famous guitarist. So that's what we do by reading the books and following his teachings and discussing it. I like to come up with different riddles for people to make them concentrate on what the philosophy behind something is. Prabhupada emphasizes Bhagavad Gita so much. You know, there's only 700 verses in there, which means they must be important verses. So we need to be fluent in some of these things. Understand the verses in Prabhupada's explanation, and that will bring us close to Prabhupada. We feel his presence. He said he put his ecstasies in the books. If you want ecstasies from Prabhupada, then you read them. If you're interested in something else, you do that instead. But the result won't be as good, of course.
Thank you, Shri Prabhu. So, Marge, you'd like to come? So there's a, following from that question, there's a question that says, why should the world want to know about Srila Prabhupada? Why should the world want to know about Srila Prabhupada? Anybody can answer that, would like to? Ram Govinda Swami.
Hare Krishna. If you want to, question is why one should know Srila Prabhupada. If you want to know or we want to achieve the very purpose of human form of the life, the Prabhupada purpose will give and enlighten us in that. Whether Acharya is the proper Acharya, Parampara, how we know it? By reading his writings, by hearing his lectures. Prabhupada never said that by doing this one you will get this material benefit. Only he always talk about Krishna and how to go back to Krishna, nothing else. you want to understand Prabhupada, read the books. And get our second generation fortunate that now they combine all the Prabhupada lectures, more than 4,000 in one temple. By hearing Prabhupada lectures constantly and reading his books, you can understand Prabhupada. You get to know Prabhupada. And we also get to know his mission also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So what we'll do is hand the mic to you rather than using the stand. You can do that. So there are overlapping questions that Shaman asked about the youth and how they would be able to understand and associate with Srila Prabhupada. But there's also one now from the parent. Devotee parents are often concerned about their youth, I guess being their children, their practice of Krishna consciousness and allegiance to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So how can we support, being the parents, how can we support youth staying connected to Srila Prabhupada, particularly as they're growing up in a materialistic culture? Any response? Ramanujacharya, you want to take that? Should I repeat that? The question?
Not a parent.
Yes, the parents are concerned how to keep their youth loyal to Srila Prabhupada in a materialistic culture.
I think first of all, you have to teach by example. You can't force people, I don't know what else to say. Prabhupada grew up in a Krishna conscious family, but not all his children followed. And he gave them Krishna consciousness, but we try our best. This is something I wanted to say before. If you want if you find it difficult to read the books, if you give me a memory stick and you have some way to play it, I can put the Krishna book read by Amala Bhakta Swami on the memory stick, and you can listen to the Krishna book by Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, we have to try our best, and we have to teach by example.
Thank you. Srila, you want to respond to that?
Oh, sorry, Maharaj, but you added my
Well, what can parents do with their children who are youths? Ramanujacharya Prabhu made a very important point. Set a good example of Krishna consciousness, but you can also help with the development of programs within ISKCON which are youth-oriented. Yeah, because younger people at different stages of life, they have different attractions, different interests in terms of their situation in life. And when you're old, you see life differently from like teenagers or students who maybe Kasavana's 20 or so. So one should help develop programs for the young people. Yeah. And encourage them to participate in those programs, like, as an example, Kirtan Melas. The young people, I mean, old people also, they love Kirtan, but the young people, in so many cases, they're really into it. So it's an example of a program which is, at least to a substantial degree, youth-oriented. So if you're a parent, you should take part in helping to organize and facilitate such youth-oriented programs. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Shri Prabhu?
I think the thing to do is realize with children that you don't let them run totally wild till about 14, and then at 14 try to rein them in and show the things. If they see that you, using Krishna conscious values, get through difficult things, like when I went through the death of a son, and the things that they will understand to come to you. You know, and if you pray to Krishna and you're in good spiritual consciousness, Krishna will send you children who are honest and Krishna conscious. And the thing is to be happy with whatever degree they have. Don't make them whatever you did, it wasn't enough. I know one devotee man, he says, I don't know why my daughter doesn't do well in school. I said, maybe you shouldn't tell her you can't do anything correctly. Then he tells her that. Of course she doesn't feel like she should succeed. So you encourage them. You tell them that when things are difficult, you turn to Krishna and he helps you through the things. You show it like a salesperson. You don't tell them, you have to do this because I tell you. You want them to see that the benefits of this outweigh what you have to do. Praying to Krishna and chanting his name is simple, and the benefits are very great compared to other things. So you see that Krishna does that in Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't do like some biblical things that you go to hell for this and hell for that. He gives the things like the mode of ignorance. You do this action, you get this result. Mode of passion, you get this result. Mode of goodness, you get this. Transcendental, you get this. He goes more or less through the cost to reward system. So you let them know in a general way, just like Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita, the things that are going on and how the mind works and how you can keep yourself peaceful. But you do it in a bit of a detached way, not that you're trying to force it on them, but you're giving something to them that could be something beneficial for them to use. I mean, the difference is, hey, I want you to come to this temple because I like people to do what I'm doing. And you need to listen to me because I've been doing this over 50 years, so you need to shut your mouth and open your ears. Or if I say, you know, I found some things in this Gita that help me out, maybe we can look through it together and help you out. And look at it in that way, showing the benefit of it. And showing that you have their best interest at heart. That you only want to share the things with them when they need to have it shared. You look, Lord Chaitanya sat in the back when the impersonal swamis are going on and on and on. And finally said, what do you think? He said, well, I'm glad you asked, right? And then he explains to them when they're ready for it. So quite often you have to wait until people are ready, but you let them know, the children too, that you're available, and you love them no matter what.
We'll stop at that point because we have a few minutes. I could end with this question, and I'll ask His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj to respond. This is, we could say, a technical and a very important question to understand Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is called the founder Acharya of ISKCON. What does that mean?
Yes. Okay. Founder Acharya is a specific role, a specific service, a term for a specific service. Founder and Acharya. Acharya means one who teaches by example. Founder Acharya, the specific application is that in the line, like in our line's been going for a really long time, like even millions of years, from when Lord Krishna personally instructed Lord Brahma, the creator. And then time went on. Lord Chaitanya came 500 or so years ago, and he acted as founder Acharya in the sense that he introduced, or not introduced, but gave special emphasis to certain activities within Krishna consciousness, which were particularly relevant at that time. In that case, it was chanting the holy names. So therefore, in that sense, Lord Chaitanya can be called a founder acharya. He sort of founded, not the line was already existing, but he founded a particular form of the line focused on a particular activity. So Srila Prabhupada did the same thing. Srila Prabhupada presented Krishna consciousness. The chanting was definitely there, but certain aspects of Krishna consciousness which were already there, but he gave them particular emphasis because they were really very relevant at that time. For example, the distribution of literature. If you went back to the time of Lord Chaitanya, if you wanted a copy of Bhagavad Gita, you didn't just go to the temple shop and buy one and walk out and now you got it. First of all, you had to put it in order with the scribe who had to write it out by hand for you. And then you had to come back in a month or a couple of months. If you wanted a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, you had to come back, I don't know, in a year or two maybe. But Prabhupada, because of the activity of mass production of literature, Prabhupada had the scriptures mass produced so that they were available for everyone. This was never done before, not on that scale. Of course, study Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, that was already there naturally of great importance. But this is just one example of Prabhupada giving a particular form, you could say, a particular focus of the existing line of Krishna consciousness, but giving it a particular form in terms of like current situations. Another thing is, going back to the time of Lord Chaitanya, or even not that far, going back maybe 100 years, 100 and something years, ladies in Krishna consciousness, they only really, well, there was no prominence for ladies. They should be wives and mothers, and the husband would just, do the main things in Krishna consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada facilitated ladies, for example, going out and doing book distribution and preaching publicly. So this is another aspect which was never done before. So therefore, because Prabhupada not exactly introduced something new, but gave particular emphasis to certain things which were already existing in the line, because he gave really special emphasis to those things, then he is considered, and he himself said that he was founder Acharya.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Each one of these questions can take a whole program, Sunday program. And several questions have come in. There have been a flurry in the last few minutes. But we can mark these questions for further discussion at other times and perhaps reconstitute something like this again in the future. So let us offer our appreciation, our gratitude to our four panelists. His Grace Ramanuja Acharya Prabhu ki.